Thanks for tuning in. I'm Joel Amadon.
And I'm Ann Monroe.
And this is The Teacher's Journey, Mile Markers on the Road to Better Teaching, a podcast series where we discuss stories of teacher development.
This podcast is brought to you by the University of Mississippi School of Education and is an Amadon Planet production.
All right, fantastic. Well, we have Kam Bracey here today. Fantastic. Kam, you're famous. You're like social media famous around the School of Education.
Yeah.
How does it feel like to be that an influencer?
It's nothing major, nothing too major. Just TikTok here and there. So
that's right. Well, I mean, that's where I first saw you with, in the School of Ed's feed or doing. I think you had a takeover the summer before you came. In my class, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be fun. I just hope I don't make the next video or something.
Yeah, and also I think over the during the pandemic, it was nice to have those.
Oh yeah,
the videos and the posts you guys were doing that just made it kind of fun, little outreach. You know,
because we started. Because I was an ambassador, for the following year. Then COVID hit, and it was like, dang, we can't really get involved as much as we could, but we still did takeovers. So Jacob was like, anybody want to take over? And nobody replied. And I was like, well, this is my moment. I'll take over.
This is my chance.
That's right.
It's like when someone hands me a microphone.
That's right, yeah.
like the other day, I just wanted to let you know that I took my chance too, Kam. The other day I was asked on Thursday to come to Dr. Platt and Dr. Lowry were combining their SPED courses.
And
they had
singing. Well, I heard
they had karaoke. And so, of course, I let the students go first.
Whoa.
And then there was a microphone, so I sang Bobby McGee for everyone. Just wanted to let you know. And also the other
and
fun...
a video of that will be in the show. No, just kidding.
No, that would be bad. But the other thing that's fun about this, Dr. Amadon, is that Kam was in both my class and your class as an undergrad, and I actually remember him being in my class. We had someone on earlier. We had Kayla Luke on, and she had been in my 352 class, but I didn't remember. And I said, "It's nice to meet you." And she said, "And that's not like me, Kam."
Yeah, because
right.
You knew all our names.
I know.
Yeah.
See,
right.
Say that again, Kam.
You knew all of our names.
Right. But so I don't know, something happened, but now, of course, I know.
I remember Kayla in there too. Actually, I remember her in the back.
She was very memorable.
Thanks, Kam. Rub it in there.
Except to the teacher. Anyway, so welcome to the Teacher's Journey, Kam. Obviously we're bantering back and forth, but could you give a little bit of insight into you? Just give a little brief introduction, maybe where you're from.
Okay, I'm Kam Bracey. I'm from Jackson, Mississippi, born and raised. I graduated from Ole Miss this past April, May, April, whatever. Since we graduated in April, with an undergrad in elementary education, and now I'm in the grad program. I'm a GA for the Dean's Office here at Ole Miss, getting my master's in curriculum and instruction. So
fantastic, great. So it's excellent that again you've already had the background. You've been through our program. We're kind of using this podcast as a way to demonstrate what does it look like to document these moments of growth, of teacher growth. And so excited to have you share. But before we get into that, we're doing a little interview countdown. Could you thank 3 teachers who have shaped your development as a person?
Yes. Okay. So the first teacher, I did it elementary, middle, and
fantastic.
Well, not middle and high put together, and then college.
Okay. So secondary, middle, elementary, secondary, and everything. Okay, fantastic.
So for elementary, I was in Montessori. I was in Montessori in a public school, so it was it wasn't weird, but it was we were in our own little area. Mm-hmm. So my first teacher I would thank is Miss Moxley. She was my 3 to 6 teacher. And then she was my 6th, she moved up, so she was my 6 to 9 teacher.
That's ages?
Yeah,
right?
we were in classes by ages. So
okay.
Because we were in public school, they just said it was kindergarten and pre-K together, 1st through 3rd, and then 4th and 5th. So she helped me. I feel like she showed favoritism towards me, but maybe not. But she really liked me, and she was a good teacher overall. I learned a lot of concepts from her with being in Montessori, and that helping me make the transition from Montessori to regular ed or whatever. So she was a big help in learning the basics and the foundations. So she's the first teacher I would like to thank. The second teacher he was my teacher in 7th grade, Mr. Merrick, and he was also my teacher in high school. Well, he wasn't my teacher. He was like over the IB program. Have you heard of
International
Baccalaureate?
Yeah, I was in that in high school, and he was like, I was in his first homeroom. He started teaching in 7th grade, and he really just helped me like outside of school a lot with like personal things, also with like growing as a person. Because I know I was like shy in like middle school, so like 7th grade, I just kind of, people started saying hey, so I started saying hey back. But he like really helped with that process of life, and like even with high school, I started running for things, and he was like over like all the royal court and all that stuff. So, and I still talk to him to this day. Like,
that's awesome.
We went out to eat with him. I think this past summer, he's like a principal now, so I've seen him grow like as a
that's cool
teacher,
that's neat.
Yeah.
and he's seen me grow as like a student, as his student till now. And then the college professor, really all of them, but Sam.
Yeah, which one of us? No.
Dr. Amadon or Dr.
Yeah.
Monroe.
There we go.
Hello.
Go ahead and open up the envelope, Cam. There you go. No, just kidding.
I would say Sam, but I really like the School of Ed has some great teachers. They all really help
absolutely.
you. But Sam, when I took Sam
Gilbert.
Yeah, Sam Gilbert.
Dr. Gilbert now.
Dr. Gilbert, yeah.
She really like helped me like get familiar with the School of Ed, and I just really loved Sam's class. And she was like checked on us throughout like us being in college, even without. Well, I took her class the last 2 years, but even when we didn't take her class and when COVID hit, so she's been like a really good help. Even now with in the master's program, I went to her like for advice on different stuff and like how I should do like my field experience, for example, and get it done and all that. So
yeah, nice.
And she helped me with my UED, like the basics, and learn about it more. So
yeah, how to create a good unit. Yes,
yeah,
excellent. Well, so all right, so that's you're thanking some teachers. Now, what are 2 reasons or events that led you to become a teacher?
Okay, so one event was like really school. I was good at school. I didn't know I was good at school. This was like an mining thing. Like while I was in school, I just did my work. I always was like a great student. Sometimes, like I had a problem with talking too much, but other than that, I was a great student.
It goes from shy to talking to it. There you go. It's progress.
It was. I was a great student, and I was like bad at sports. Like I was like everybody played football and all that, and I was like, oh, I'm terrible at that. But the one thing I was good at was school, so I was like, why not major in school or education? So like when I got to high school, like I became more like, I don't know, I just loved going to school in high school. Like I hated missing a day. Mm-hmm. So I thought about it and I was like, why don't you become a teacher? But I was like, everybody kind of like didn't want, like they did not say not be a teacher, but they were like, there's so many other things you could do. So I never like really thought about it. So I just brushed it off, and then I was playing baseball and soccer. I found 2 sports I could play. So it was like, let's push off what I want to major in. But I figured it out like freshman year. I just went back and forth a lot. So, and another event, I would say, was to give back to the community that I live in, because I know I was in Jackson Public Schools District, and it was like, it wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst. It was like, it could use improvement in a lot of things, and people kind of like look down on it, but I feel like it's a good, like I feel like public schools are a good district to send your kids in, and there's a lot, the programs I was in, Montessori and IB, those are good programs, and people don't really acknowledge those programs a lot, and I feel like they really helped me with college, because college was not like, it wasn't easy, but it wasn't as like difficult to like writing 101. My classmates had problems in writing 101, and my problem was when I met my teacher was I write too much. So she told me to like get to the point, basically, some of my stuff. So
it's a parallel with that talking problem.
Yeah. So
you were prepared.
Yeah,
you felt prepared.
Yeah, it prepared me for college way above the game. So I made the decision to like, because I didn't start off as an education major. I started off as a biology major and an education minor. And then, like, the whole freshman year, I was like, I wasn't even in any biology classes. And I was like, I really want to be a teacher. And I loved my education, like, minor classes. So, because I took Mrs. Birchfield, I think. For, like, foundations or something.
Yeah.
Miss Susan Birchfield, I think.
Slipping me. But, yeah. So, one of the minor courses.
Yeah, I took one. And then I took Intro to SPED. But I needed that for major, too. I just didn't know.
Yeah.
But when I like, taking those classes, like, really encouraged me to change my major from, my minor to major. So,
yeah.
It's great.
That's excellent. And that's, I like, the way you position the public schools and thinking about them. And like, also, too, like, we are representatives of our school, like, coming out, like, I'm representing Altoona High School. Yeah. You're representing
Notre Dame High School.
There you go, and Jackson Public Schools.
Yeah.
And so, like, thinking about, like, how the education. Like, I was just talking about this in our methods class. Like, we only had one AP class. We don't, but, like, I don't know. I think I've done okay. Yeah. and too, and like wanting to be a part of a representation of the community. So that's great. I love that. All right, so Kam, we're here to talk about placing a mile marker on your path to better teaching. So, what artifact would you use to represent your mile marker?
Okay, the artifact that stood out to me the most would be the letters that my teacher would write me for, like, feedback on student teaching when I started student teaching last year at Oxford Intermediate. Mm-hmm. So my student my clinical instructor was Mr. Garner, and he was also Dr. Moore's student teacher. She told me when he was the teacher. So
that's awesome.
She called me a second generation student teacher. But yeah, he was a track coach and cross country coach. So he was, like, on the go a lot and busy. So having me in the class, like, helped him, like, major, and it also gave me a lot of practice to do things that I haven't done before. So starting out, like, he could tell that I was, not comfortable, but he could tell that I was trying to find my place in the classroom. So after a while, he told me, he would give me, like, things he would want me to work on. Like, I know one thing was classroom management. That was a big thing. And there was a lot, I wrote about that a lot in my journal, in my portfolio. And another thing was, like, projecting my voice, because I wasn't really, like, a yeller in the classroom. Like, so it was
an inward talker. Kind of be quiet. Yeah.
So it was like fifth graders and me. It was like clashing. So he gave me, like, different things to work on. So, like, we had, like, really rough days, like, challenging days. But, like, he wanted me to prepare for my unit, because he was like, when it's my turn, like, teach, he's going to just give the classroom to me, and he's going to play more of my role. So he was like, it wasn't to, like, just nitpick and, like, do certain things, but it was to prepare me for my own classroom and be prepared. And I know I had this one day where I had something planned out, and it was, like, too basic, and it didn't work. So I was like, oh, crap. Now I know he's going to be mad. But by the end of the unit, like, the letters he wrote, they ended up, like, I read over them by the end of the year, and they ended up being, like, I could see the growth from how I started off as a student teacher. And he even told, because we would have meetings with my supervisor too, Miss Purvis. We had meetings with her about, like, my progress and all that. And by the end of it, my unit, he was like, he could see the difference and how I even raised my voice at a student. Yeah. And I was like, wow. Like, even one of the students, like, could say, you did really good today. And I was like, oh, wow, so y'all do know this. I was like,
they know, don't they?
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
you kind of hit the teacher education jackpot with your student teaching. You have Paul Garner as a supervisor who's been supervising for years. When I first came 20 years ago, wow. I observed student teachers in his classroom when he was at Oxford. It was Oxford Elementary at the time. Oh, yeah. And then you had Anna Purvis as your as your supervisor, Paul Garner as your clinical instructor, and Anna Purvis as your supervisor. Yeah. That's like teacher education gold. It's an amazing teacher, amazing supervisor she is. So that's fabulous. And then when you say letters that Mr. Garner wrote, you mean like he was giving you feedback?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like one letter, I remember one specific letter because he had to go to like track. So I would like leave, be with the class like during dismissal, and he would go to the practice. So he left a letter because, you know, it would save time. So, and I taught social studies, so that's when he could really like just lay back and see how I taught. And he would tell me he liked the way I ran social studies, or I would look at the way that this would work, or like put more enthusiasm into this, and like just different stuff like that. So it was more of like feedback letters on different topics I taught. Like even with science, when I taught my unit, he told me like I would come early, or we would stay like after school or come on weekends to just plan the lesson so it would run smoothly, so he wouldn't have anything to worry about, and I would be prepared for like my lesson to go smooth throughout the day, even if I ran out of time or if I didn't have enough. So
I love this combination of like the probably the same level that he's of excellence he wants for his runners, he's having for you as the teacher, and then also providing the feedback necessary. And like, you know, he's not going to be there after school, so what is he going to do? He's going to write a letter.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, that's neat.
It's a great investment in you and your development as a teacher. That's awesome. So, you know, and I'll ask it just and see if there's anything else you want to add to it. Why was this mile marker, or why was this artifact important to your growth as a teacher?
I think it helped me like kind of in a way but like create my classroom in the future and what I should avoid and what I should include, because I know like thinking about it, I was like, oh, this is just, I didn't know it was as hard as it was until I actually, like, I thought, oh, this is going to be the fun part of being an education major, but that was actually the hardest part. So it kind of made me think about the like little things that teachers have to do in order to make their classroom successful and their students like contain order, like little things like coming in there in the morning. Like I didn't think about, oh, the students have to have something to do in the morning or they're just going to go haywire. And like, I didn't know that what to do if the copier breaks. So like, it was like little things. It was like little things that like that. And then like the technology now from when I was a student, it's like, what if that goes out? So it was different, like little things that kind of I took note on, which helped me in how I will build my classroom in the future and what I will enforce and like the different rules. So,
and I think I like when you keep saying these little things. I think that's so important because it's like fine tuning, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's what the student teaching semester is about. You've learned a lot in your classes, and then you go into student teaching, and then you're putting everything into practice. And it's fine tuning. That's what that's the whole idea. That's what the time is for, right? To fine tune things. And I think also these little things that you're talking about end up being big things. Yeah. So it's like paying attention to those little things makes a big difference in a classroom with students.
Well, I like too the fact that you mentioned earlier as well how these letters, like, you know, probably the ones at the beginning, the ones that like you said that they showed your growth. Like you probably were. It's like, hey, Kam, plan more stuff versus like, you know, the bigger tuning stuff to the smaller ones were like, hey, I liked how you used your voice in these areas. I mean, so it's like, you knew how to plan for the time, and you knew. Now it's about the little adjustments. Yeah,
and he would say things like that because like sometimes we just had like talks instead of the letters because we had like time during the planning period, and he would be like, "Oh, Kam, I like the way that you did math. Well, not math, but because I did science, but he taught math too in the past. But he was like, "Oh, Kam, I like how you did the bell ringer today," and he would like for example, in his home, we had 3 classes, so in his homeroom, he would basically do homeroom, and then I would go off to the second period early, and he basically would show me first period how to do it, and then I would do most of it second or some of it second period, and then third period I would do it. So
because you all moved to different
we moved
during
COVID
because
during COVID we had to actually
teachers moved, not the students.
Take all the stuff and move it, and it was like very beneficial to like have a student teacher because it was a lot of moving. And, like, I had to literally move carts, and I even helped some of the other teachers out sometimes, like watching the class and stuff. So it gave me a lot of practice and like insight on how teaching works and how like because I even sat in on the PCL. Is it PCL? PLCs. The PLC meetings, and I never knew. I knew teachers met during like planning periods, but I didn't know like all that went on during it, and just getting that experience really helped me. And I wrote about it a lot in my portfolio, and I wrote some standards about it. So
yeah, awesome. So how do you connect these letters and as an artifact? How do you connect them to the field? So as important to the field, like to the standards, like what standards? Like, I mean, I know that I've got some ideas, but I'm wondering what you picked.
So like when I did it in my portfolio, I used the standard number 1 for the INTAC standards, like learner development, because it helped me like develop as a learner, because it was my first time actually in like a student teacher field. Because I took EDRD 355, the literacy reading class, where we like the first class.
Spent a lot of time in schools. Yeah,
we went into reading, and I was with the kindergarten class, so I got experience, but I want to do like 5th or 6th middle school or 5th, and even with junior year, our time got cut short with like the field experience. So this was like my first time in actual like planning something and then going out and like actually executing it. So I learned a lot about the development that teachers have to make. Another one was the standard number 7 with the planning instruction.
That's what I was going to say.
And I had to plan a lot of like activities, especially because we had mixed classes. So it was like we had ELA learners, and then we had not ELA,
English language learners.
EL learners. We had special ed, and then we had regular ed all in one class. So it was like I had to make things that would modifications for those students. So I didn't even know about that, because when I was in in my public school, they didn't like mix or anything. It was just like regular ed. It was a lot of. So I learned a lot about how to plan instruction for everybody so that they understand the material best for them. And another one was leadership and collaboration, because I did a lot of collaborating with the other student teacher that was on like in science with me. We would sit in the PCL. We actually like created the state practice test. We created we didn't create the questions, but we created like the practice test on Schoology for the students to take. So it was like fun getting to experience that. And I also worked with the other teachers in the science department at Oxford Intermediate, and they helped me a lot with like planning my UBD and lessons and creating material that the students would like remember.
That's a great example of a professional learning community or a PLC. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, that's what you should be doing.
You had a little mini PLC with the other student teacher.
Yeah, we would meet all the time during our like off period and just playing different things. So,
wow, I'm hearing all this, Kam, and I'm like, this is the kind of collaboration I hope that most teachers have, the kind of interactions and thinking about like we're all trying to get better and all helping contribute to each other, like we would say in our class often, is that we're smarter together. And man, that hopefully if other student teachers are out there or other pre-service teachers and like looking out for those opportunities to collaborate, and even if you never met that person before, ask their name and like start, hey, how can we help you? Talk to each other. Yep. Use that gift of gab, right? That's right. All right. Well, I wonder, Kam, if you would be willing to share your pocket-sized philosophy statement.
Okay, so I recently changed it
last
week. So like the original one was Okay, so my original one was my ultimate goal as an educator is to provide students with comfort, coziness, and culture as they gain new knowledge daily. And then I just shortened it to like comfort, coziness, and culture because those were the three things I was like big on in like elementary school. I wanted I wanted to be comfortable in the class, like comfortable enough to ask questions. Then I wanted to feel like I was at home with the coziness. And then culture, like I wanted to learn about, like I wanted to meet new friends a lot and learn about different people and like their backgrounds. And because me and my sister were always in the same classes, we're twins, so it was like I need my own friends. So like she's with me, so it's That's like right. We had to make friends together. So I changed coziness because I was like, that kind of could go with comfort. Because we, in Dr. Taylor's class, in his grad class, we did, I did my presentation, because we all have to do a, like, presentation about our story in education. And I did mine, like, 3 weeks ago. And we had to provide, like, what encouraged us to teach, or how do we want to be remembered as a teacher? And I put my philosophy statement as how I want to be remembered. And I thought about it, and I changed coziness to curiosity after learning, for the past 2 years more about education. And I chose curiosity because a lot of students are curious about what's going on in the classroom. Yeah. And I know as a student, I was curious about, like, why the sky was blue or why trees grow since we did like more in-depth learning, like we did a lot of analyzing about different countries and all that in IB, so it was like I was wanting to know why they do certain things and why. So I feel like students are very curious in class, and I want to replace that with coziness. And coziness could go with comfort because what student wouldn't want to be comfortable in class? Like we had these chairs. When I was student teaching, Mr. Garner had like these, the like spiral chairs that like bounce. We had those in class, but the students like they would like read on their like off time in the chairs, but got to a point where the chairs were a distraction, so we had to put them back out, like put them back in, and then make them like earn the chairs. So, but I replaced it recently, like literally like a few weeks ago.
Right. I love that because it shows you're still on a journey, right? Yeah, like, I mean, even someone as old as Dr. Amadon is on a journey with his teaching. But we're constantly adjusting, adding, learning. Yeah. And that's sort of the whole, reason that the philosophy statement in the portfolio that we use is built the way that it is, where you're constantly adjusting it and dating it. And, it's not like anything massive changed for you in terms of the way you're thinking about the classroom, but it was just sort of a way of thinking, this is an element that I want to focus on more. So I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and they're all kind of connected, right? You're more willing to share who you are as a person, the culture, if you're comfortable, and then also to be that, like we can be curious, we can ask questions to each other because we have a certain, you've built up this environment within your classroom where that's able to happen. I don't know. I mean, so 3 words, but a lot. I mean, just think about all the thought you have behind those 3 words. Yep. It's pretty amazing.
And I remember when I took Dr. Monroe's class and we had to write the first one, it was like mine was like 2 pages, and I was like, why did I write this long? And then you explained it to us, and I was like, okay, now I have to adjust it. So when we moved on to like when I took Sam, because I took Sam for like the class Dr. Monroe taught, but the higher one for like the 353? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So she told us it doesn't have to be like, it just has to focus on like what you want as a teacher. So I shortened it, and it was like mid paragraph, like a paragraph 2. And then she was like, then I took her again and for the other one, and my statement became, I took you for like the shorter version. And then it was like, okay, Dr. Amadon said, focus on what you want to be remembered as a teacher as, and that was my philosophy statement.
That's right.
There you go.
That's right.
So
awesome. Seem like we've seen how this philosophy statement and the mile marker kind of have connections, but anything you want to add? So between your philosophy statement and your mile marker, your artifact, like, do you see how they kind of interplay?
I see how like it helped me grow as like not even a teacher, but like as a person, because I became more like aware of how I want to run my class. Not run it, but how I want to be leader for other teachers as well as other students in the classroom, and how I want to help them want to not even become teachers but be successful in like life and want to come to school like I did every day. So
and I think that's a gift. The fact that when you were saying earlier that you loved to go to school, that's such a gift. And I think that's something that if that's not already naturally there for the student, that's something a teacher can give, right? That gift of wanting to come to school. That's just, I love that.
I hated missing school as a child.
That's a wonderful thing, I think.
Awesome. Anything that pops to mind from regards to resources? I mean, and I think it's a book that you read in Dr. Taylor's class, that Culture Code book.
Oh, yes. We just finished it. And it was a good, I really liked the book because it wasn't like a typical textbook. It was more of like a life. It wasn't like in education, but it was more of like life skills and what you need to like work with other people and collaborate with others to be successful.
Yeah, it's a great. So Daniel Coyle wrote it. It's a Culture Code, like something about successful groups.
So
the creating successful groups or something like that. But anyway, great book. I think Kayla Luke talked about it before too. But that's a great resource if people aren't aware of that. But also too, just the idea of mentoring and stuff like that. Yeah. Ken Blanchard wrote a book with Claire. I can't remember her name, but I'll link it in the show notes. But it's basically just a book on mentoring, and I think sometimes with the newly experienced teachers, like we're having some of our graduates are now like you're just talking about the kind of the history of student teachers and clinical instructors that you just shared before, Dr. Monroe, is like we have our newly experienced teachers that are now becoming clinical instructors.
That's right.
Oh, wow.
And like, what does it mean to be mentors?
That is scary.
Right. And
I didn't even think about that. Oh.
But the thing is, you saw it. You know how to do it. And so maybe some folks, they might thinking intentionally. So what you just shared, Kam, could be helpful for others that are not thinking about maybe their growth as like a teacher, but thinking about their growth as a teacher of teachers, as a clinical instructor. That's the first line of being a teacher of teachers.
Yeah, and one of the things that when you were talking about this mentorship thing in terms of resources, I had the great fortune when I was student teaching, and then also my first years of teaching, to have amazing mentors. So I had two during student teaching, Faye Smart, who taught third grade, and Brad Goodson, who taught fifth grade mathematics. I was in both of their classrooms, and kind of like you, hit the gold there, the jackpot with those two. And then I moved into my first years of teaching at a school and was assigned two fabulous mentors, Carol Waller and Cindy Wilkinson, and just the unbelievable amount of information and help and support that I got from those two ladies was incredible. So then I started thinking, well, like, what's a resource? I mean, obviously you have these people, this mentor, you had your mentors, and I've had my mentors, and Joel's talked about his mentors before. Mm-hmm. But what about, like, what if you're looking for a mentor? What is somebody that I like to go to, and unfortunately she's no longer with us on this earth, but she's got lots of recordings. And so I love Rita Pearson. I don't know if you're familiar with Rita Pearson, but she's done TED Talks and all sorts of things, but she taught for years and years and years, and unfortunately passed away a few years ago. But that's somebody that could be anyone's mentor, like, because she's available. You know what I'm saying? Like,
every champion, like be a champion for a kid. Is that
I don't know if that's her, but that sounds like her.
Okay. We'll find it. And we'll post it
but I always show one of Rita Pearson's TED Talks in my class. I don't know, Kam, you may have actually seen it in my class. I can't remember. But she's just somebody that could be anyone's mentor. If you're, that's just a good resource. We'll put some Rita Pearson links in there. Just an amazing teacher that people can listen to and look up to.
I just watched like a video for Dr. Taylor's class on William Winter.
Oh yeah,
and I had no clue who he was until like Sunday. And when I watched the video, I did not know like he was that amazing of a person. And like, he did a lot of things for education in Mississippi, and it was just like amazing to watch it, like the documentary and write about it. And Because I'm the type of person, like, even with Netflix shows, I just start looking the person up after I watch it, and I started looking him up and everything about him, and I was
He's kind of amazing.
He literally just died, and I was like, I hate that I didn't like know who he was before, but like, we're probably going to talk about it today in class because we just watched it, but I just wanted to bring that up. But,
yeah. And if you went to public school in Mississippi, like you did, you benefited from what Governor Winter brought to education in the early 1980s. So that's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Kam. This is great. I think we captured a lot, and also too, just like, I mean, that's kind of like why we do the podcast, is to be, just like, Dr. Monroe was talking about finding recordings of Rita Pearson, and like sometimes these, like, again, these moments of growth where maybe someone else can have, or not having those same experiences, but they can learn through somebody else's experiences, and that's another thing that we're appreciative of you coming and sharing.
Thank you for having me. I feel cool now. I'm on the podcast.
All right. Add this to your social media empire.
That's
Kam.
right. There we go. So thank you for tuning into The Teacher's Journey, mile markers on the road to better teaching.
This episode may be over, but the journey to better teaching continues. Please subscribe to the podcast so you're notified when the next episode is ready for a listen. And if you like what you hear, please rate and review the podcast. You can also share the podcast with someone you feel may be interested in these stories of teacher development.
And are you ready to start your journey to better teaching? Send an email to Nick Sisk at nickf@olemiss.edu. He's the School of Education admissions counselor to hear about all the options for becoming a teacher or educational leader. Or perhaps you are well into your journey and looking to further advance as a practitioner or researcher in your field. For more information on all our graduate programs, contact the University of Mississippi School of Education's Graduate Studies Office by sending an email to gradeducation@olemiss.edu. And if you're looking for a doc program, I can help you with that. So you can send an email to jcamadon@olemiss.edu.
Also, follow the University of Mississippi School of Education on social media. You may just see Kam out there.
I bet you will.
At Ole Miss Ed School on Twitter and Instagram, so you can learn more about opportunities like free graduate application weekends. Information can be found in the show notes for this episode at roadtobetterteaching.com. And finally, thank you to Kam for sharing a portion of your journey.
And thank you to all of you listeners out there for taking the journey to better teaching. This world is a better place because you have used the gifts you have been given to teach others.